going on, everyone? Welcome. It's another week. This is the Live Life Progressive Show. Sincere Hogan, that's me. And got Mike Mall on the other line. What's going on, man?
I'm doing good, man. We have a fun guest today, so we're going to talk to him in a little bit. But you want to know what else is fun? Underoos. Not only are they fun to wear, just you and your underwear.
You just go destroy. You gonna put a picture in my head I don't need to start off with at the beginning of the show. Like, come on, man.
We know you're.
Are you going to reference?
We know you're rocking those Darth Vader underoos right now as we speak.
Hey, man, to be honest with you, back when I was a kid, when underoos first came out, not these reprints, I had my Boba Fett underoos, man.
Yeah, I mean, I reached out to Underoos recently to become a sponsor. I'm like, hey, look, if MeUndies, everyone's rocking this whole MeUndies stuff. It's like, hey, why don't we go a different direction and have Underoos come on?
Every week we're going to come up with some different underwear, man. Eventually we're going to have Panty of the Month Club.
Well, our friend Prince Bell is definitely going to be rocking those Darth Vader underoos on his Star Wars channel on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe to that so you don't miss out.
I'm telling you, if I get a notice in my email that's the latest video of you doing like a lightsaber like confrontation in your underoos, I'm unsubscribing, man, because I won't be able to unsee that.
First lightsaber lessons, now this. Come on.
Exactly.
Are you certified in lightsaber?
No, in underoos I am. I can tell you exactly. I mean, this is for women only. What underoos are a perfect fit for your body type? It's like you, I think, should be a Wonder.
I will guarantee that if they've remarketed underoos, you will see video from Mark Fisher Fitness of like full classes in underoos. He runs some of the wildest stuff, man. He's done some great stuff. He's got people moving again. And, I mean, they're one of the funnest gyms. I mean, they have a blast over there. Coach Fury Hollander is over there. Uh-huh. And they do some really great stuff. I'm really impressed by what they've got. They've reached out to a demographic of people who didn't think that fitness was for them. And I give.
And then they saw the underoos.
I was about to say, I would pay good money to see who this audience is that's going to think like, hey, I want to do fitness in my underoos. Okay, first of all, basement. First of all, because
first of all, who are these people that have? Yeah, exactly.
With underoos on.
Have underoos.
This is not going to be a fun class for any of us on this show right now.
This is actually a demographic of adults who actually have underoos who are like, oh man, other people like me working out in underoos.
Underoos for underachievers. That's what we're talking.
Are they remarketing Garanimals too? That's what I want to know.
Well,
underoos is actually still around. That's the funniest part.
Yeah, well,
I didn't even know that.
No, every now and then you'll see these internet models, quote unquote, and they'll be posing in her Wonder Woman underoos. I'm like, okay, first of all, where'd you find those? And back to the internet model thing. What does that even mean? So, yeah, man.
It means you don't get paid to do it.
Exactly. Come on. It always says email for bookings, and it's always, internetmodel@gmail.com. Like, oh, yeah, you sound.
Well, it's like these
really
girls who have photo shoooots on Facebook, but they leave out the part that they paid to do those photo shoots. They didn't get paid to do them. They paid to do them.
Yeah.
And
true.
just because you put sponsored model does not mean that you're getting paid, okay? Because they can just throw you some supplements or something like that on a T-shirt, and all of a sudden you're a sponsored model.
Well, you know what's funny is in Ryan Holiday's new book, which is great, by the way, Ego is the Enemy, really good. We just got to get him back on to talk about that book. But anyway, he talks about how a lot of people feel like they're already successful because of social media, all the attention they get on social media, that even though they don't have real success, because they feel like they're successful, that's enough.
Look, man, here's my thing. You got all those followers. Can you match $1 to every follower that you have in your bank account right now? That's when you think you're on to something. So if you got 1 million followers and you got $100 in the bank, it's not working. It's not. Okay.
But that's also the problem with a lot of visualization techniques, is where people will do these high-level visualizations, and now they feel like they have already accomplished what they visualized, and they actually have less incentive to go after it in the real world.
Well, there you have it right there. It's visualization techniques. So basically, they got all these people looking at them, and they feel like they're successful. But, here's the thing when you say visualize. Visual-lies, people. Okay. Yeah. I'm about to go into Farrakhan mode now. It's not visualization. It's visualizing to the nation.
Don't you tell me, brother.
Come on.
Who are you to tell me, brother? No, but the thing about visualization is that imagine that you go through this hypnosis, right, where you visualize hitting this deadlift PR and it feels really authentic, it feels real. Are you going to be more inclined to want to go achieve that in the real world, or are you going to feel like you already did and don't feel like you have to go achieve it in the real world? And I think in a lot of cases it's the latter, is that people create these imaginary lives in their head and they visualize it so well that they feel like they've actually achieved something when all they did was dream, basically.
I think it's what we were talking about with Cosmo last week, I believe, when he was saying, all these guys, you ask them like what they bench, and then they tell you, but then you put them on the bench, all of a sudden it's like, nope, not quite, but not even close.
I think I brought that up before. It was Men's Fitness used to go around and find people on the street. It was either Men's Fitness or Men's Health, and they would ask them, what's your bench press? And then they would take them to the gym immediately afterwards and test it. And not one guy ever could do what he said he could do. It was always 50-pound deficit from what he said he could do and what he could actually do. So they would say, oh, I can bench 200, which is a standard generic response that every average guy will say, oh, I can do at least 200. And they would take them to the gym, and these guys could barely – sometimes they couldn't even bench 135, 150.
What is it with that magical number with that 2 and that 0 together? I mean, for guys, like, what do you bench? 200. For ladies, how much weight do you want to lose? I want to lose at least 20 pounds. I want to get down to 120. What the hell does that 2 and 0 have to do with anything? Why is everybody so focused on that? I don't understand.
Well, it's something that's achievable for everybody, right? Like any guy who works out should be able to bench press 200 pounds at some point. It's not difficult to do.
Yeah.
Now, it's not difficult to do, but you actually have to go put in some work, some level of work to achieve it. Very few guys just lie on the bench the first time and they can hit 200. I mean, someone like Mike Tyson bench pressed 250 the first time he ever tried. He's a genetic freak. The average guy, they're going to get pinned with 100 pounds like I did, the first time they ever tried. But working up to 200-pound bench press, that's within the realm of possibility for just about anybody. Now, the problem is, because it is, a lot of people feel like they don't actually have to do it. They can just say they did it, right?
Or the problem is, once they do it, they're like, they're good. Just like, I'm good now. I don't have to do anything more than this. I can bench 200, man.
Like the minimalist out there is like, okay, I hit that minimum mark.
Yeah, I'm good now.
The gateway. Well, it's like that guy at the cigar lounge near my house in Syria when we were talking to him, and he's a black belt in Aikido, I believe.
Yeah.
And he basically said that, look, when you get a black belt, that's considered the starting point. It's not the end point. It's like, okay, you're serious. Now let's really get going here.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's considered in jiu-jitsu as well, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people look at the black belt as the end game, meaning they want to achieve that, and then like, okay, I'm done. I can put the plaque on my wall. I can tell people I did it. And I don't have to train anymore. It's kind of like the college mentality, right? Like sometimes people get their PhD and they're so burned out because it's such an arduous task to get that. They're like, man, I'm never going to read a book again. And that should be the wrong mentality. That should be the beginning of your learning process rather than the end of it.
Sometimes on the flip side of that, once they get that PhD, like, oh, I'm pretty good at getting these degrees. Let me start in another subject and start from there and get a bachelor's in that and then get a master's in that. Then next thing you know, they got 5 degrees. They become the paper chasers. And it's like, okay, and meanwhile, you're still unemployed. Oh, and that student loan debt, pretty freaking large.
I knew this girl in LLA, right, from Africa, and she had these very wealthy parents. And her parents told her as long as she stayed in school, they would pay all of her bills. So she did just that, Sincere. She became a professional student.
Yeah.
She would get 1 degree and then go back and start again. She's like, I'd rather do this than get a job. Like,
well, I mean, it sucks because even if you're filling out a job as a student, they even consider that being a student as your occupation, a full-time job. And you can actually put that on the application. So I think that's where the mentality begins when especially like you're a freshman. You're like, wait a minute. You count this as full-time employment? Just going to school?
That's another illusion. It's like you're paying to be there. You're not paid to be there, right?
No one goes to Walmart and pays to work at Walmart. It's like you're getting a check, man. It may not be much, but you're getting a check.
So you got your check for the week. For me, no, you got to pay us, man, to be here.
Exactly.
Be that greeter.
Well, then it becomes, you're training them now how to deal with, paying their taxes and getting an income tax return. So basically it's the same process, the same pyramid scheme. I'm going to give you this interest-free loan and you're going to give me some money back and say thank you, but it's the same amount that I gave you. Wait a minute. There's nope. So no, you pay to work. buddy.
Well, real quick, Gavin, let me just do some of these LLA shout outs and then we'll get rolling here. We've been talking for 2 minutes, but let me just interject this. Just a bunch of people that have been using that coupon code LLA to get 10% off the best nutrition supplements money can buy. So that's one of the perks of listening to the show and supporting the show is that you learn about the coupon code LLA, which allows you to get 10% off both of our websites on anything you see there. So we have Tom Suttle, Michael Richards, Kelly Campion, Richard Bowdry, Dave Jenkins, Manuel Reyes, Jeff Ferguson, Damon Willis, Audrey Powell, Charlie Richmond, and Matthew Tucker. They're just a few of the people that use that coupon code LLA. Oh, and on that note, let's talk about
also, Andrew Weston and Jared Felty and, the Sith Lord himself, Prince Bell, also using that coupon code LLA. And also our new Patreon supporters, Matthew Vanderlip, Brian Gill, and Maurice Burrows. Just head over to patreon.com/LLA podcast, become a supporter of the show on a monthly basis. There you go.
And that's how you really support the show, the whole Patreon thing, because basically you're not getting something in return.
Other than the show and the great content.
I mean, you're not getting something additional in return is what I should say.
Right.
Because with the products, it's like, I'm going to buy some products that support the show. It's like, well, you're getting products at a discount. So that's still a win-win. Win-win for you more than me. It helps me, obviously, but it's just an extra benefit for you. Yeah, anyway, just become a Patreon supporter, long-winded.
Well, you really believe in the show. Like, you know what, man? Hey, I'm just going to support you guys this way. We're good with that, too. So, yeah, man.
And don't worry if you haven't done it yet, because soon we're going to have mandatory Patreon.
Yeah.
That's one way to increase donations. Just make it mandatory. Yeah. Isn't that a great idea? It's like if you go to a class, instead of having a donation bucket, actually charge people up front to take the class. Isn't that smart? All right. We've got Gavin Van Vlack, as you probably recognize his voice, guitarist for Burn, high-level strength coach, all-around Renaissance guy. How you doing, Gavin?
I'm good, man. How you doing, man? It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good. Great to have you back, especially after you flaked last time.
That was dude. I'm gonna own that. I totally did. Like, my schedule got so overrun, and I looked at my clock and I was like, oh my god, I totally just.
I'm stuck in traffic. I can't get to my car.
Yeah, it was like it was just bad timing on my behalf, and I will absolutely own that.
That happens, man.
Yeah. It's my fault.
We've had people flake multiple times, so don't feel too bad.
Oh, yeah.
We've had people do it 2 times in a row. We don't give them a third strike.
It's not a club it's not a club I want to belong to.
So how's everything going with Burn, man?
Podcast. Everything with Burn is really good right now. We're in the process of writing a new record. We're rehearsing. We got these shows in August, which will be really, really awesome. I'm looking forward to. It's kind of it's daily work. It's like I treat it like I treat my facility. I make a portion of time per day that this is dedicated towards working on the band and getting that business working properly. Right. I'm not one of those musicians who sits around waiting for inspiration. I'm a big believer in the Stephen King saying, amateurs wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and get to work.
Right.
I find it to be the most productive thing, getting up, make some time, put some time into the band, whether it's answering emails, working on songs, scheduling stuff, so on and so forth. And then, I have my portion of the day, which I have to work on my facility. Then I still have a couple of clients, although I am kind of phasing out of the personal training aspect a bit, more being in the function of the gym and making it so my coaches are making more money.
Yeah.
And, our membership is happier, and, that's all working well. I can't complain. Every day has just been a little bit better. So, even the bad days are pretty good. So,
is it pretty much essential in the music industry, especially intense music, metal music, to have some other avenue of income besides the band?
I have a couple of different, streams of revenue. So, to me, it's kind of they all meet up. If one starts to lag down, then it picks up. And right now, the band is one that I'm investing in.
Yeah.
Which in order to make it so we can pay the bills. We have a drummer and a bass player and Chaka and myself that need to be paid. We have a booking agent. We have management. These are all parts of the mechanism that have to be compensated for. So Yeah, I mean, it's an investment in time and finances. So yeah, it's true. It's like, but if you go about it properly, it does work well.
Yeah, because it seems like Todd Jones and Nails, we were talking about Nails, awesome band. They have a great new record out, You Will Never Be One of Us. He has a regular day job, and he was in Terror before Nails.
Yeah.
He was just working in the band, and he realized, okay, this lifestyle is not for me where I'm entirely dependent on income from the band for my lifestyle. He'd rather have a day job that's separate from the band. The goal of the band now is just to pay for itself, do enough touring so it pays for the record, or sell enough of the record that it pays for the production.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's an entity that's contained on its own.
That makes sense. That is not, absolutely, but that should be the first goal in any business that you're starting off. And I don't want to sound like some kind of life coach. It's to get it so it's up on its feet first, so it can handle its own weight. And then from there, like when you can start to find a way to make it into like an advantageous stream of revenue, that's great. But right now, it's like we've just gotten to the point where, Burn is paying its own bills, which is good. And those bills are, quite honestly, because I'm not pulling a paycheck from Burn, but we have a bass player and we have a drummer. They need income. I make sure that our workers are taken care of. I'm a big fan of taking care of the employees. If you have happy employees, you have happy clients. I treat my facility the same way.
Right. Well, where is your gym? Under a metro station?
I was about to say, it's a true New Yorker right there. I hear the L right in the background, man.
We are in glamorous and exciting Bushwick, baby.
Baby.
I love this. I love this neighborhood. There's a lot of cool stuff going on out here. A lot of great art, a lot of great music, a lot of great restaurants. Last night was the 4th of July. Me and some friends were bouncing from rooftop party to rooftop party, and the vibe was just amazing. I was just really impressed that like people were just having a good time. It wasn't, crazy, off the wall, getting fucked up. It was just really good. I really do dig this neighborhood a lot because it has a lot of what I think New York offers people. Yeah. I grew up in the East Village, which at a point there was a lot of really great music and art there, but that neighborhood has changed. I still have my place in the East Village, which I do live at, but I have an apartment out here because it's a little convenient to have something near the facility if I have to be here quickly. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, we've got trains and sirens pretty much during most of the working hours in Bushwick. So
it wouldn't be New York if it didn't, man.
Absolutely.
I think that's someone coming to pick up one of your clients. A Turkish getup just went awry there.
We do a good job of not. We get games without that kind of pain. Which
it's good. It's good not to have any serious injuries when you're trying to get gains. Yeah. It helps avoid impeding progress.
Yeah, I don't think that's called at that point. It's not gains anymore. Well, it's kind of minuses at that point.
Well, absolutely, and it's like it's like I tell our interns, I'm like, listen, I could go out in the street and get anybody to bring someone up here and get them tired. You need to progressively. And I mean, you guys are at the top of your field. You know this, but I always say it's better to develop strength than to test strength, because after a while you're not going to have the answers. You're going to fail the test.
Well, there was a guy I was trying to test strength the other day at the gym while I was building strength, and it didn't work out. He's a nice guy, so I'm not going to rip on him too much. But basically, I was doing heavy deadlifts. I worked up to my top set, and that day it was 525, so I wanted to go for 2 or 3 reps. Anyway, this guy just comes over, and he goes, "Hey, would you mind if I work in with you?" And I was like, yeah, sure. You want to take a couple plates off? First of all, I was like, why do you want to work in with me when there's plenty of empty bars?
Yeah.
But maybe it was just motivational reasons. So I was like, I got a little time before I go for this. I was like, yeah, sure, we can take a couple plates off. He's like, no, man. He's like, I want to see if I can do that. And I was like, oh. And I was like, I don't know anything about this guy. So for all I know, he can deadlift 525 10 times. So I didn't want to sit there and be arrogant and be like, come on, man, isn't this a little bit too heavy for you? So anyway, I was like, yeah, go for it. Now, I could just tell by the way he walked over to the bar, the way he grabbed the bar, his foot stance, how far the bar was away from him. I go, this is not going to be good.
No.
I go, but it's better. It's better if I wait for him to fail, then offer advice, then do it ahead of time. So he tries to pull the bar. It doesn't budge. I mean, it doesn't move. The only thing that moves is his ass going up and the bar going nowhere. And he's like, oh, man. He's like, that's heavy. I was like, yeah, it's kind of heavy, especially if you haven't warmed up. Just walk it over. So anyway, I hit my set. I just do 2 reps. And it was difficult, but 2 clean reps. And he's like, oh, wow, that was good, man. It's like, let me try it again. And I was like, wait a minute, man. I was like, let me give you some advice here. I go, let's take a little bit of weight off. But he was insistent. He wanted to try 525. So I'm like, all right, at least do this. At least drop your hips, dip and drive. Make sure the bar's not too far away from your shins. Again, to no avail. This time the bar moves an inch, so I'll give him that. And I think that's just the advice I gave him on how to set up. And then we took some of the weight off down to 495. I was like, let me try that. And he got that off a couple inches. And I was like, look, man, you're going about this all the wrong way. I was like, you need to go really light, drill technique. Just work on stuff. Don't demonstrate strength, or in this case, attempt to demonstrate strength. You need to build strength. You don't just try to pick up something heavy without having the technique there.
Yeah, deadlift is not like a internet marketer's way of approaching things where you start with the major goal and then work your way backwards. It doesn't work.
It's not forgiving at all.
No.
No. That's.
But to this guy's credit, he was very susceptible. He was very appreciative, and he was also very open to that advice. He's like, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I sent him to look at Matt Krasinski's program or Ed Cohn program. I go, start off with a good program. Start way lighter than you think you should. Now, that's hard advice for the average guy to take.
Yeah.
Start way lighter than you think you should. That just goes right over their fucking head, man.
So true.
But it's good advice.
When you get people that want to get strong first and they have a misconception of it and they don't realize that this is training and the deadlift is a skill. And you have to really, really hone that skill in order to do it correctly so you don't hurt yourself down the line.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest misconception is how they view the word strong. You saying, they want to get strong first. Well, that's the art of getting strong is, starting there and getting these major little victories every time you go to the gym. So start lighter than you should. Right. And then work on that technique, man. Dial it in until it starts feeling effortless. Even when you step up and you finally can make it to 495 or 525, it still should feel effortless. As far as techniques, you shouldn't have to really sit there and like, oh man, okay, what just went wrong? What was that? You should know. You should, as soon as you step up to that bar, you should know, like, let me fix my foot before I even think about picking this bar up. Like, you can just tell that heel is turned to the inside just a little too much. All those things. How do you even know all that? Because you started small and worked your way up, man. You gave yourself time to grow into the deadlift and then just try to take on this major task right there. And that right there, that's building strength right there. Again, they just look at it the wrong way as far as being strong.
Yeah, you should never miss lifts, right? You should start light enough that you keep drilling that technique, and then when you want to go heavier, it's there from all the time.
You'll know when today is not a 545 day.
You should know. You should know
the warm up.
Yeah, exactly. During your warm up weights, you should know. If 495 felt really difficult, adding more weight to the bar is probably not going to help.
It's not going to make it better.
Yeah. But Sincere said something that was very valid, and that's people allowing themselves to grow into the weight, and they don't get that,
right?
And they have to allow that. It's
it requires a lot of patience, and that's a word people don't like to hear.
Ew.
No, well, we live in a very a very instant everything kind of like, oh well, I want to be lifting 400 pounds by the end of the month.
Well, that's what I like about working out is that there's even with all of today's technology, there's no way to speed up the process significantly, right? You can take a couple supplements, you can do active recovery techniques and all that, and all those things help, but it's still going to take time. It's still going to take many years to develop impressive numbers.
And the real question is, what is your freaking hurry? What are you in a hurry for?
Exactly.
What are you doing? I mean, are you like competing, professionally or something like that, and you're trying to make it to a meet and beat a record or whatever? Even then, you're still going to take your time. But my thing is, everyone's in a hurry for what?
Well, they're in a hurry so they can do it and not do it again.
Just mind you, you're driving and there's a red light ahead, but this is guy that's ramming you, tailgating you, and he wants to get around. So you let him around, he speeds right up to the same red light you're going to. And I just look at you're in a hurry to go nowhere fast, buddy. Okay, so
that's such a valid point, and it's like that statement in itself has such a broad bearing on how people just go about their lives in general. But it's like, oh, I want to get it all right now, and then what? Then what?
Well, people are always thinking about what's coming next, right? You go to a concert and they're already planning, okay, what are we going to do after? And the concert hasn't even started.
Oh, yo, you go to dinner and they're already thinking about dessert, but they haven't even ordered the appetizer yet. Like, oh, where we're going to go for dessert after this? Or what are we going to like, can I eat my appetizer first?
Or can we just fucking enjoy this moment?
Exactly.
You know, that's the big part of it.
Well, that's something Sincere and I have in common is we're both slow eaters. So we're eating dinner and people around us are done and we're just at the very beginning of the meal, and the waiter keeps coming over like, "Oh, you guys done?" It's like, "Nope, still working on it." 20 minutes later, "Nope, still working on it."
One more time, dude. I'm seriously. Don't even think about taking that naan off my table, homeboy.
You're really kind of like, you're really proper eaters, because I'll tell you, I'm guilty of fucking wolfing down food. Like it's like I got to get somewhere really fast. Which sometimes I do, but more times than not, I don't. And it's like, I've caught myself being like, man, why am I rushing through this meal? This is really good food. I should be just enjoying this shit. Right. You know, a lot of people are that way. And I gotta pull the card on myself. I get like that sometimes too.
Well, I think we all do at points.
Yeah, sure. Certain things. And sometimes I'm around people I don't feel like being around, or it may be the actual audience of that restaurant. I'm like, you know what? Can I just get this to go? I just need to go. Because, you know, you might go into the restaurant, you have this like a table full of these drunk assholes, you know, and it's just obnoxious and no one's going to say anything. It's like, okay, I'm not going to be that guy. You know, the restaurant, they want to deal with it. I don't have to. Can you go ahead and pack this up? I'm ready to go, man. So
yeah,
it's gonna be that. It's gonna be that group of people sometimes.
That's a good lesson right there. I go, how do you know if Sincere likes you or not? Well, if he's trying to eat through his meal as quickly as possible, and get away. Is he eating slow, or is he trying to finish that meal as fast as possible?
After 3 bites, is he asking for a to-go box? That says a lot, right there.
Like, yeah, you just sat down. It's like, yeah, I gotta go now.
But if he sits down, he orders like he has like a pot of tea afterwards. That means he plans to sit there with you for a while. That's the equivalent of me having a cigar in a restaurant. If I order a pot of tea, that means I'm not going anywhere anytime fast. It drives my wife crazy. So she's like, "Are you almost done with your tea?" I'm like, "Ma'am, can I drink this, please?" Come on.
No, but people have that mentality with training as well. They just want to get it over with quickly. If you should enjoy the process, you should realize it's going to take a while. And then when you have those inevitable workouts that are crappy, quote unquote, crappy workouts, you don't feel strong. It's not a big deal because it's just one little peg on a board that's going to last for a while.
And it gives you a chance to reflect on, okay, why was this a crappy workout? It probably had nothing to do with your strength or the actual weight itself. You may have just had some crappy sleep. You may have not eaten enough that day to energize it. You may be dehydrated, especially if you live here in Texas. You'll know if you're having a crappy workout because it's hot as hell. And my gym has no AC, so it's usually anywhere between 95 to 100 degrees inside the gym. So you get to do hot yoga and all that in one time with me, but you get to sweat it all out. So you got to ask yourself, like, am I hydrated enough? You know, did I get enough rest? You know, or is my mind just somewhere else? You know, you're really thinking about the crappy day you had at work or the issues you may be having with your relationship, or who knows, man. So you get to reflect on, okay, what can I fix now so I don't have to deal with that the next time I go? Because I'm not going to sit here and miss this lift 2 days in a row in the same week. That's going to suck. It's not good for your confidence level either.
Then sometimes you just need to back off and you realize that I needed to do that back off week a couple weeks ago and I skipped it and now it's catching up with me. Because if you do that whole 3 weeks forward, you pull one back, regardless of how strong or weak you feel, that back off week is usually a saver with
gold, man.
Progress.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the deload. I found the deload week. Yeah, deload weeks are just they're man, and it's tough to get. Yeah, I've got a couple young athletes who, like, they're off season now from doing Muay Thai. So like what I like to do with them is like get them on their deadlifts, get them on their heavy weights, and it's to get these guys to do a proper rest. Like, dude, we're lifting heavy, we're lifting threes and fives here, you know. So let's take some decent rest. They're like, you can't get a guy to sit down for 3 to 4 minutes just to rest. I'm like, dude, you know, just relax. This is part of the process. And it's the patience thing. You're right, Mike. You have to be patient straight across the board.
Yeah, you don't want to apply powerlifting principles with CrossFit principles where you're doing a heavy deadlift and let me take a break. Is like I'm going to do a heavy deadlift, then I'm going to do 20 burpees immediately after, then I'm going to do pull-ups, then I'm going to go right back to the deadlift without a break. It's like,
man, let me tell you, if you can do heavy deadlifts and still want to do 20 burpees after whatever, you didn't do. It wasn't heavy.
You're not doing heavy deadlifts enough. Yeah.
I'm looking like, can someone just please wheel me to my truck, please, so I can go back home? That's the time you wish you had a chauffeur or someone to drive for you after a heavy deadlift session.
It's so neurologically taxing that you look forward to those 3-minute breaks.
Absolutely. I can't. I mean, I always tell guys, like, if it bores you, bring a book.
Well, Mark Phillippe said that Ed Cohen, legendary Ed Cohen powerlifter, used to grab a newspaper in between sets, and he would just sit there because he would take 5 minutes or longer in between heavy sets.
Oh, yeah.
Mark likes
seen in his videos. He deserved that. Okay, he deserves 5 minutes or more.
Oh, yeah.
But Mark was always someone, you do heavy bench press, and then you don't necessarily immediately do something else, but in between those breaks, you do something else as opposed to just sitting there. So they had a different philosophy, and both of them are really strong. So obviously, different styles work. But and I'm somewhere in between, right? Like I'll do heavy deadlifts, then I'll do something that doesn't affect that lift at all, such as maybe heavy incline presses in between. So it's, let's say heavy deadlifts, 90-second break. Heavy incline press, 90-second break. So it's still about 5 minutes by the time you get back to the deadlift without just sitting around the whole time.
Yes. I mean, sometimes I might throw in like some joint mobility, in between that. Or I actually might just go ahead and mimic the lift while in between that set. So therefore, it doesn't just fade away. Yeah, it won't just go away completely or whatever, but just keep that neurological connection. Just sitting there, just kind of going over that technique. I started just playing make-believe. Like, okay, let me just lift the bar without lifting the bar and just I want to reinforce good technique, especially when on a heavy deadlift day. And since I'm really getting back into, barbell squats, just really going over there, mimic the movement. So basically I'm using my body weight while I'm doing this. At the same time, still firing up the same neurological connections that I need to. And then by that time, I'm still moving. So I'm not, just sitting there doing nothing. Then I'm ready to go when it's time to go and lift again. Because one thing about me, I'll catch an ADD moment. I need to be doing something because otherwise I'll start doing things that don't matter. Really throw me off, especially I might start changing the radio stations, then start getting pissed off if they're playing certain songs or whatever else. Then I'm like, you know what? Let me just hook up my phone and listen to, my playlist or whatever else. And then I can't find a song. Next thing I've lost 10 minutes. So it's like, come on, man. So yeah, I don't need those ADD moments, man. So that's why
you end up in a black hole on that. Yeah, I get you. It's interesting how I've seen a lot of people. I mean, I get in conversations with a lot of guys at jiu-jitsu who are asking me about, strength stuff, and I hear what they're doing. I'm like, wow, they really, one of the big things, you see these guys strength and conditioning, which, it's like you don't need to do those, let alone you're doing them in the same session is dangerous.
Right.
It's like you need to take these modules and work them separately.
I mean, Ori Hofmeckler has something called controlled fatigue training, right, where you purposely fatigue yourself before doing something intense. But that's a very advanced concept,
right?
And it's for a very specific purpose. And if your goal is to lift the heaviest amount of weight in the safest manner possible, you're not going to apply that technique.
No, not at all.
It's for mental toughness training. And in my opinion, you shouldn't try to merge it with powerlifting. So there's no benefit of purposely fatiguing yourself before you go do heavy squats or heavy deadlift or heavy bench press. You can fatigue yourself maybe before you do heavy double kettlebell swings, something like that, for example, something that makes sense within the context of a conditioning workout.
Yeah. But that's the whole thing when you get into conditioning. Conditioning is one animal, strength is another animal.
Right.
And, with our Muay Thai guys, we make sure they don't do all their lifting with the Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu guys in any kind of fight camp situation. It's basically maintenance lifting, and it's just stuff to keep the joints strong so they have less of a chance of getting hurt. When you're dealing with combat athletes, they already have a chance of getting hurt. You don't need to be part of that equation.
Yeah.
So, and we've had some really good success. One of our coaches, she just had a fight couple weeks ago, 3-round Glory Rules Muay Thai fight, and she did it. She won the decision. I really thought she was going to knock the girl out in the second round because she kept ringing her bell. But the whole plan paid off. We had her on like a 3-month strength cycle before she took this fight camp. She was strong as hell. And then after that, we just pulled the strength back, stick to the conditioning, and stick to the skill training. That's one of the things I'm really happy with our program here is that.
Yeah, when we had Frank Shamrock on, we asked him about the controversy in martial arts, in particular MMA, about heavy weightlifting and whether it's productive or counterproductive for fighting skills. And he basically said, look, if you know how to throw a punch, right, you have good technique already, and now you make that athlete a lot stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
Now you have more power with that technique. It's going to have a lot more impact.
I mean, strength and conditioning just comes down to this. You build strength, and condition is just, okay, now what are you going to do with it? Put it to use, and how fast, how powerful can you use that strength? I mean, you got it. So it's just like someone that sits there, you got all this money in the bank. Okay, now what are you going to do with it? You going to invest with it, or, it's just going to sit there doing nothing, so that's all it is, man.
Mm-hmm. And conditioning will help strength in the sense that you're more fit for your workouts. Yeah. You can do more sets with the same amount of weight. You don't have that drop-off point as early. Like, for example, if you want to do something such as German volume training, right, 10 sets to 10, you have to have a certain level of conditioning to last all 10 sets.
Exactly.
You have to have a certain level of strength to last all 10 sets. So you have to have both. And you'll develop both if you stick with that program long enough.
And the common denominator is going to be, just your mental, strength, for having both. It's the way to connect both those things. It's going to be the common denominator. So even when you're doing German volume training, you got to sit there and have a mindset like, you know what? I'm on set 6 and this is already starting to suck. I can really stop right now because I've done 60 reps total here. That's more than most people do in a week. So I can stop right now. But someone says, go ahead and knock out that last 4, man. So
that's really when like visual cues help a lot in situations like that. Like, for example, if there's a good looking girl, just look at her posterior chain in between sets.
In her underoos.
Just imagine her in some Wonder Woman underoos, and if you finish this workout, she's going to go home with you, right? You have to use these mental techniques in your head.
You're going to see a lot of workout videos in the underoos. That's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I'm hoping so. Careful what
I didn't say.
I'm hoping underoos listens to this episode and they say, "Hey, man, thanks a lot for the plug, guys. Love to sponsor
you guys."
Then we get to talk about underoos every week.
Exactly. To my, you know what's great to lift in, Mike? Underoos.
You know what I like to wear during my post-workout nap? Underoos.
Underoos.
I like to wear my Thor underoos because I like to feel like a Greek god when somebody's a Norse god. Whatever. They're paying for the show.
Just knowing those underoos are on while you're working out under your gym clothes just makes you feel stronger.
You don't think Clark Kent felt the same way? No, like, little do you bitches know, I got a Superman suit on under here. Don't even.
It's like, for those of you taking aggressive strength, your balls are literally going to get bigger. So the underoos gives you a little bit of breathing room. Oh, man, come on, underoos. This is some good stuff here. God, you guys should be paying for this kind of exposure.
Oh, man.
So, Gavin, what do you do to stay in shape when you're on the road with Burn?
I'll bring a set of kettlebells with me. I'll bring a jump rope with me, and I'll bring a pair of neutral running shoes. Just flat as possible running shoes. To me, sprints. If I can find, I was real lucky on the last U.S. tour because it seemed like every hotel we stayed at had like a football field or a soccer pitch, which nice. Like with really good, I'll sprint wherever I can, but if I can get on AstroTurf, it's a blast.
Yeah.
So it's, sprints are kind of the mainstay, and you can always kind of find, there's always like a playground. You can do the Zach Evanesh, stalk the playground and find a pull-up bar. There's always push-ups. There's always great modifications to push-ups. I try to find places to work on my handstands, which suck really bad. But that's something that I'm trying, as a big guy, not hypermobile guy, it's something that I want to work on because, I'm not supposed to be able to do that. So fuck you. I'm going to try to do that.
Yeah, our friend Kim Blackburn's a good example of a guy who's very mobile and has worked up to hands. I don't know if he does handstand push-ups, but he can definitely do handstands.
Well, hell, he can drop down to a split like freaking James Brown, and it's like nothing for him. So
that's because of the surgery he had, though.
But there's all sorts of ways to get creative on the road with training. I know that Billy and Danny from Biohazard, they travel with jiu-jitsu mats.
Yeah, right. So does the guy from Trivium.
Yeah, the guy from Trivium travels with jiu-jitsu mats too. Yeah. So it's like, there's always ways to get creative about it. I brought agility ladders out with me, hoops, different stuff.
I think sprinting is a good one though, right? Because you can always find a space to go sprinting.
No matter what, even if you have stairs, even if you just have stairs at a hotel and just doing that, man, you can sprint up those bad boys.
Sprinting is one of the best full body fast twitch exercises you can do.
It makes you feel great too. You feel like $1 million.
That's a good carryover in real life because you never know. That's when you can really apply the real deal stuff right there, man. So
you never know when you may need to run forward or away from something.
Well, I always tell people the first forms of real human martial arts were sprinting and climbing. Yeah. Because we weren't always apex. Cats were much bigger than us at a time, and so we had to be very fast and very agile. So sprinting. I always tell people, and we work a lot of our clients and our members on being able to, especially when the weather gets good. It's like, hey, get outside, get some sunlight. There's something about going outside and doing sprints. Like we have great treadmills here. We've got Woodways, and I love them. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, man, I love going down to like a local baseball field near the gym and just hitting like 10 short, like 8 to 12 second sprints, and just walk it down.
Well, it's just visually pleasing too, and that also helps with performance, especially here in Vegas where it's blue skies every day. So you're seeing blue skies. At least the field I go to, there's actually trees there and green grass.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's visually pleasing. Yeah.
That's an important thing. I think it is really important.
Oh, it's better
than get outside enough.
It's better than sterile white walls in a gym, man. That seems so much like prison. It's just so much like prison, man. So
yeah, I love our facility, and our facility is really laid back. We got a great vibe here. But if I can get outside and go do sprints, man, that's one of the best things ever.
I like something like an elliptical trainer for, let's say, new trainees that are overweight, right? So they can't run yet because
less impact on the knees,
right?
Exactly.
And they can just put on some good music and then just cruise for 20-30 minutes.
Yeah, even like us, we have like Jacob's Ladder, which is even less impact on their knees, but it's building a strong core, and think about it while they're doing it, they're not really thinking about their heart rate really getting up until they stop. Once they get off that thing, they're like, whoa, is this okay? Am I okay? Why is my heart beating like this? I was like, you're going to be fine. In 2 minutes, you're going to get back on and do it again. And, but they tend to love it because now they can actually do something that's quote unquote cardio that doesn't have them all busted up at the end. Their knees are feeling like all jacked up because let's say, you're just getting started. You're 300 plus pounds. The last thing you need to do is sprint. Okay, and put on some Vibrams and then go hit a football field and try to run.
No, you know what? Sincere, thank you, man. Thank you, because there's a lot of Adam Blake and I had a conversation about a client that he's working with, and he's like, well, I got to be really cautious about. I said, you got to get this guy, be safe about it, and be cautious about this. But these are the people that need movement. These are the people that you want to, in a year or so, able to go out and do like a 30-yard sprint at their sprint speed.
And that's not my sprint. That's what a sprint is, as fast as you can go.
Exactly.
Not Tyson Gay or anyone like that. I'm talking about you, Alistair Felix.
Thank you so much for saying that, because a lot of young coaches think like, oh, I'm going to take this person out and I'm going to fucking turn them out, and they end up hurting them and it's like the best of intentions, but it's just.
It's like you said earlier, Gavin. The goal of a lot of people is fatigue when it comes to training, and that's a big mistake. You can just hold your breath for a while and be fatigued.
Oh, absolutely.
So the goal, it doesn't tell you anything about the effectiveness of a workout, just measuring fatigue.
Yeah, no, it's true. And there's a lot of coaches out there that are really pointing to that now. I mean, Joel Jamieson's got some great stuff on it. I like a lot of his heart rate variability stuff. And I'm seeing some really, really smart stuff from a lot of coaches, especially guys on the East Coast, because, we've got there's a big CrossFit community here, but I'm seeing a lot of strength coaches now that are working with young wrestlers and young football players. And these kids are all lifting with trap bars and with neutral grip bars for bench press. And it's basically, I like the idea of like, we're going to take those joints and we're going to keep them safe because these kids are in high impact sports already.
Right.
So, I'm a big proponent of the trap bar. I teach all of our beginning clients how to deadlift on the trap bar. I like the shorter learning curve on it. I think it's as effective. Gradually, they'll grow into a straight bar deadlift if they want that. But and again, they grow into it.
I like the trap bar.
I'm a trap bar fan. I mean, you see the post videos all the time with it. It's one of my favorites.
I'm not a fan of it though in terms of improving barbell deadlift because it's a very honed skill set. In other words, like Mark Philippi talked about how there were guys who could do trap bar deadlifts with 800 pounds who couldn't pull 600 at a lot of these strongman events. So it's a different skill set. But for the average person, though, it's great because they could care less about having a heavy deadlift and all that. That's not what they're training for. And it's a very safe way to have them do a similar exercise to a deadlift.
It's a good in between, between barbell squats and that barbell deadlift to really hone in technique. And because a lot of people don't know how to push their hips back. No matter how many times you tell them, okay, grab the bar, put your hips back, they're just kind of looking at you and they think they're doing it. And, and they're also still lifting with their backs and all this other stuff. So that trap bar can help erase a lot of those bad habits before they move on to either barbell deadlifts or barbell squats, and really start getting down the main things they need to learn how to do in order to make both those lifts successful. So it's a good transition, tool to have between both of those things. And then you can start working on other things without confusing the hell out of them when you say that, or in their minds, they're like, I'm doing that. And a lot of times I'll record a client like, nah, let's check the tape. See that? You didn't do that. That's your back. Those are not your hips. Okay. Those are your back trying to lift that bar right there. What I do find is there's way more carryover of barbell deadlift to trap than the other way around. Because with the barbell deadlift, if you pull the bar, the goal is really to pull the bar into your center of mass as much as possible. Now, you don't have to do that with the trap bar because it's already there. So if you develop that skill set with the barbell, you're already in the right position when you go do trap bar. So you can get better at trap bar without doing it, just doing barbell deadlift to a certain extent. Yeah. Otherwise, everything is skill related. The more precise, the better. But there's definitely more carryover. Just like there's more carryover with overhead press to bench press and the other way around. It doesn't mean that you're going to be an elite bench presser, though, just doing overhead presses. But there's definitely more I knew guys who could bench press 405 who couldn't overhead press 135. They just never worked on it. But if you can overhead press 225, 250, then you should definitely be able to do 300 or so on the bench press without working on it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's and like I said, I'm a big fan of keeping my people safe.
Right.
Right. I don't, and I think it's a lot of because we do work with combat sport. Our athletic clientele are jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, and then even our people who are just hobby sport. They've got tennis, they've got this. They don't need to be. I'm not worried about them doing.
Well, the other benefit of trap bar is the neutral grip, as you said.
Absolutely.
The barbell deadlift, you have to do. Most of us are going to do an alternating grip. And that can be problematic for people that are doing a lot of other skill sets.
I've been kind of happy though because I love a straight bar deadlift, and I'll have like a female client come up and be like, I want to try to learn to deadlift on that. And that kind of to me is like, yeah, you like it, you get this. This is cool. When they do that graduation really from the trap bar to the straight bar, you start to see things light up a little bit, which is interesting. Especially like you said, the carryover, like they'll start to see like, oh wow, I can't lift as much as I did with the trap bar, but the training effect is markedly different.
Right. Right.
The
mechanics are essentially the same. It's just that you have to get used to pulling that bar into your shins and how that feels. So there's certain things that if you're not used to it, it's going to feel awkward.
No, absolutely.
And trap bar feels awkward too if you haven't done it in a long time and you're only doing barbell deadlifts and then you go try to do trap bar. You're like, wow, this feels different.
Yeah, I've been on a 5-3-1 program for about the past six months, and it's all straight bar.
Yeah, that's a great program. How's that working for you?
I always like it. I love the whole theory on it. I'm working sub-maximally. I'm allowing myself to not be impatient about shit, just grow into the lift.
Are you building a lot of reps on especially the first few workouts in the beginning of the curve? Or do you find that you rep out quite a bit?
No, with a 5-3-1, it's just, basically hitting the first week on the fives.
On the first week, it's 5+, right? Are you going way beyond 5, or are you using a weight that allows you to tap out around 5?
I'm using a weight that keeps me at 5.
Okay.
I do. Again, I'll pull the card on myself. Just from coming from a sports background, I'll ask myself, one more rep. Like a shoulder issue, I have that. So I like keeping it very, very, On my last, on the 1 week, my last set, I'll do 1 AMRAP, which basically I'll be hitting sometimes between 6 to 8 reps.
Right.
Which is good, and I'm happy with that. And I have to, again, not be like, well, I'm hitting that many reps. Maybe I should redo my math. And no, just let the program be what the program is.
Right.
I'm making gains on it. Plus, also on top of that.
Well, that's the other mistake people make with 5-3-1 is their first week on the 5+, they hit 10 reps and they're going, okay, this is too easy. Let me recalculate everything for week 2. And that's a huge mistake. And then by week 3, they're missing reps. So it's like, that's great that the first week was so easy that you hit 10 reps. Let yourself go way beyond those parameters. It'll get more difficult eventually. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's hit that point where it's getting difficult. But I'm also still on top of that. I'm doing jiu-jitsu 3 days a week. I still do some pad work with my coaches. So, I'm fairly active. So it's like I have to really watch myself because, I get to do this. This is fucking awesome. I get to fucking, I have a great facility. I have great coaches I can train with. I have awesome friends in this industry. So I get to do this on a daily basis. But also at 48 years old, I have to watch out that I don't friggin' overtrain and end up having to just cover myself in Epsom salts and fucking,
Well, it's like Dana White said. He goes, my goal this year is not to get injured at all. That when people asked him about his fitness goals, and what, that's an important component of achieving your fitness goals. If you get injured, it's going to hamper the process a great deal.
Yeah, it's going to hamper everything. And I'm one of those jackasses who'll, be like, oh, I'll do mitt work in the morning, and then maybe mid afternoon I'll go do some sprints, and like, oh well, I'm close enough to gym. It's 9 o'clock. Maybe I'll hit some deadlifts.
Well, it pays to have good access to a really good body worker, massage therapist, whatever you want to call it. Because the lady I go to, man, not only is she really close to the house, but she's often available quickly when I need her. Because the other day I just fucked up my right shoulder and I couldn't front raise my hand above eye level without just sharp pain just shooting up. And I was like, man, this is not going to just get – if I wait for this just to get better on its own, it's going to be a while. It could take weeks for something like that to get better on its own. But I went to her, and she was able to work the rhomboid. She worked the shoulder, and it was really painful at the trigger pointing she did. But literally right after I left that session, I was able to raise my arm above eye level without any pain. And there was like a little bit of residual pain. So it was about maybe a 75% improvement yesterday. Today it's getting close to 100% improvement. And I was like, wow, this is awesome, man. Yesterday I could barely grab something out of the cabinet without it hurting that shoulder. And today it's gone. And it's because of her. Like if I didn't have access to her for that, I'd be dealing with this all week.
You're overdosing on Restorazyme right about now.
I'm doing that anyway. I'm taking 10 caps 3 times a day as an additional precautionary measure. Speed up.
I gotta send in for a re-up on that stuff with you guys too. But the body work is important. I'm a big fan of acupuncture as well. So they're both like.
How often do you do that?
I'll do like a 6-week series, like once a week for like 6 to 8 weeks if I have a particular problem.
Yeah.
And then once that gets weaned out, usually like once every 3 weeks, once every month.
What's the theory behind it? You're bringing more circulation to the injured area, or what's the mechanism?
Bringing more circulation and also breaking up blocks within like certain energy lines.
Okay.
It's kind of like you have you ever had shiatsu massage?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah. It's along the same theories of shiatsu, of being able to break up certain blockages within energy lines of the body, and I've had really good results from it. So that, and also like you said, the soft tissue manipulation massage, really important. So,
and were you doing it once a week, twice a week? How often were you doing?
With massage, like I would. When I was competing in jiu-jitsu, I was trying to get in like once a week. Now I'm going like maybe once every 3 weeks. If I'm feeling really, really shot, I'll do like once every 2 weeks.
What about the acupuncture? Was that once a week?
If I have a particular problem, once a week. If if I'm just going in for maintenance, it's once a month.
Right.
But I also had a shoulder issue that I finally got it kind of like banged out and worked on. Did my own movement stuff on that, and then also the the soft tissue manipulation, because it's just like shortened pec minor, so that shoulder's pulling a bit forward.
I'll have these weird lingering injuries, and then all of a sudden they just go. Like I had this one back issue where every time I would do heavy squats or deadlifts, hold on one second, I got someone at the door.
Yeah, it's funny. I had the same thing going on, man, especially like with my right shoulder a couple of weeks ago. And it was pretty much about 3 years ago, that shoulder pretty much just given out. And I think a lot of that was overused from kettlebell sport training. Right. You know, then eventually got it fixed after I started going to a chiropractor and getting adjusted. Like pretty much he was working on me weekly. And then because basically it wasn't the shoulder, it was stuff that was going on, you know, in my rhomboids, you know, and things going on, you know, below my lats and almost like right by the rib cage. You know, it was like a bruise right inside there. And he found it or whatever. Then it got to the point where I couldn't even raise my arm, even just to like put deodorant on. I was like, okay, this sucks. Okay. So basically I had to like just kind of move my elbow out and then just stick the deodorant under there. It was like the worst. But sleeping sucked the most. It's funny because the one guy, Cody, on this season of The Ultimate Fighter, he was having the same issues, I believe, because I was watching him curl up, like pretty much he had to lie on one side, and it was the only way the pain went away. I was like, yeah, I know what he's dealing with right now. And like none of the doctors could really tell what was going on. And I was like, yeah, I know what's going on, dude. And then I think one of the doctors finally told him it was a bruise that was going on right, you know, behind the ribs, just slightly, close to the lats. I said, yep, I knew it. Just from the fact, just to think, all the complications he was having, I had the same thing. And I remember telling Mike about that on the show, you know, about a year or so ago about that. Yeah. And had to get that fixed. But to the point, like, I couldn't even sleep certain ways, man. Like, I didn't want to sleep on my stomach, you know. I'm like, I am so against sleeping on my stomach. It's like, to me, it's like the equivalent of adults getting SIDS.
You've watched one too many episodes of Oz to find out.
Well, this is me and my wife, so I'm not worried about that. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's just like there's so much to be said for pain-free ranges of motion.
Oh yeah.
And I think we don't realize it. Like when we're young in our training, we get very much into like, okay, well, there's going to be like we get into the no pain, no gain theory of things.
Just fight through it.
And fight through it.
It should be pain, no gain.
Yeah, and it was. It took me a long time because, again, coming from a combat sports background where it just becomes part of every day. It's like, okay, I'm in pain, but that's what life is. That's just how you deal with it. And then when I started going regularly to massage therapy and the acupuncture, I started to be like, wow, hold it. This doesn't hurt. Oh, this is what kind of normal people feel like. Okay. You realize how important that is, especially in coaching, because I think a lot of coaches get too used to the idea of like, well, you have to live with this pain. And no one has to live with that kind of pain.
Right.
We should be strong.
The problem also people have is they don't go get a recovery massage when they're feeling good. They go get it when they're in excruciating pain.
Exactly.
At that point, the problem has manifested for a long time to the point where you feel it to such an extreme degree. If you did it several steps before that, it never would have gotten to that point. It's kind of like car maintenance, right? Most people wait for something to break down, then they go to the shop and try to get it fixed, as opposed to doing maintenance work so that you avoid. Check your air every other time you get your gas filled, so you avoid getting a flat tire rather than just waiting for the tire to go flat.
It's a lot cheaper to put 25 cents in that machine and put some air in your tire than have to sit there and buy a full set of tires. Because once you go and take one tire, it's like, oh, you know what? These other tires got wear in it too, so it's probably smart you get all four replaced. Well, that's about a good $1,000 right there.
For you it's smart. As in the merchant, not exactly. Not you, the consumer. No, but I had this weird issue with my back where on heavy deadlifts and squats, it wouldn't hurt while I did it, but whenever I would park the weight on deadlifts and stand up, I would just lock up. Or whenever I would park the weight on squats and then walk away, I would just lock up. And I was like, man, wow. That's a weird problem. And then it would go away after a couple of days, and then I would work out again, same problem. So like Sincere said, I started going to a chiropractor once a week, got adjusted, really good one around the corner from here. I made sure to stay on top of the massages, and that improved gradually. And then all of a sudden it just went away. Like it's gone now. It's like it never happens anymore. And I had this weird stomach pain too, which I thought might have been from sprinting, like lower abs. Like every time I would sprint, it would just make it worse. And that just lingered on for a while too. And then all of a sudden I noticed like a few days ago, I was like, hey, it's gone.
Yeah, I've had where it just feels like somebody's just been hitting you in the stomach with a baseball bat. Like, just,
wow.
And, it reminded me of Muay Thai, where you just sit there and, hey, I'm going to let you just hit me in the stomach with the stick while I have my arms up, behind my back in a prisoner squat, like, position, with my fingers locked behind my head, and you just have somebody just whacking you on the stomach. Well, that's what it reminded me of. But for some reason, it didn't feel like that when I was doing Muay Thai. I was like, what is this pain? And I was like, damn, do I need to have my appendix removed? I'm like too old for this shit, man. To get an appendix removed.
Well, that's the weird thing. It's like I would have this stomach pain, but I didn't feel it at all during heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, things that you would
it's just sitting there and you're like, ugh.
Yeah. But I couldn't sprint. Like now I'm going to start sprinting again. But all of last month I couldn't go sprinting because it would just make it worse. But it wouldn't become worse doing heavy deadlifts or heavy squats. It was the weirdest thing.
It's funny because somebody would listen like, yeah, it sucks getting old. Like, no, actually it's interesting getting older because you start discovering things like, what is this about?
Yeah,
you know what, man? I had injuries just like this when I was in my 20s. So that's all bullshit.
I just ignored them when I was younger.
Yeah, well, there were times I would do heavy deadlifts when I was 25 and my back would lock up for a week. So it's not like I never got injured in my early 20s.
No, it's true. But again, also like people, they don't get into, and I think and this might be a plug towards your products, but they don't do a good recovery regime. They don't like the magnesium oil, because I get people all the time, oh, I don't have time to do an Epsom salt bath. Then get some magnesium oil. I
don't have time to rub that on.
So are you walking around ashy right now? You don't have time to put lotion on your body? Come on, man. It's like,
exactly.
Same session. Just go ahead and knock it out.
The Mahler's recovery oil is something I keep on hand at the house all the time because it's one of those things. And also the recovery enzymes. Really, really smart stuff. If you want to train hard, you have to recover as aggressively as you're training.
Yeah, and also like people listening go, oh, it sucks to get older. It's like, no, it sucks to get a lot stronger because that's when you become a little bit more. It's not so much age that's causing these little issues in there. It's the fact that you're lifting a lot more than I'm lifting a lot more now than I did when I was 28, and I was pretty strong at 28. So that's the other factor as well. And then there's training age. How many years have you been working out?
Yeah.
And how many years did you not do it correctly in terms of taking charge of recovery and restoration and all that you're paying for now?
What sucks is when you get old and you don't get wise. That sucks.
Then you're just old and stupid. That's what they do. It sucks getting old. I said, and stupid. Okay, so just go ahead and finish the sentence.
I always found that depressing as a kid, because as a kid you would look at adults like, wow, these people really know what they're doing. They've got together. And then you became an adult and you would see the same people and you're like, oh wow, those people never knew jack shit, did they? Exactly. All that time I thought they knew what they were doing. They don't know jack about it.
Well, again, it's wisdom comes with age. Don't let age come alone. It's
nothing ever works out well when it comes alone, man. It's just not good. We're designed that way.
Yeah, you need to learn. If you're making mistakes, then motherfucking learn from them.
Right, exactly.
That's what they're for,
Yeah, and that way mistakes are just lessons if you actually learn something.
Yeah, and people ask me all the time. They talk about like, well, how did you learn this? I'm like, well, I hurt myself doing that.
Well, yes, that's how it's like a baby. It's like, how did they learn how to walk? They bust their ass a few times, and they realize, you know what? This whole busting ass thing is not fun. Okay, so I'm gonna learn how to freaking walk. Give me that table. Let me just stand here for a minute, get my stuff together, and I'm gonna try this again.
It's mistakes of the learning variety, and they all are that.
There's never a cutoff point with the baby learning to walk. Like, well, look, if he doesn't learn to walk by this point, then let's just give up. All right, get a wheelchair.
Exactly. This is like, you know what? I tried walking once. I'm gonna try, but you know what? I'm gonna get back on my walking regimen on January 1st. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my New Year's resolution. He's like 6 years old. I'm gonna learn to walk on January 1st this year. Damn it.
That's really the mentality people should have with goals that are important to them. Like the way a baby is gonna learn how to walk no matter what, you should achieve that goal no matter what. You figure out a way.
Yeah.
Here's a good old man story for you. Old man John Hines. Had anybody seen that latest video of him pushing the car out of a handstand with his feet?
No, but I saw him doing some kettlebell snatches where it looked like he blew out both rotator cuffs. No, I was kidding.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with John. He's a friend of ours.
Yeah, I know that. But
what's this new clip?
He did a clip of him in a handstand position pushing a car with his feet.
Okay, I'm trying to visualize that.
I'm seeing it. I'm visualizing it. It looks crazy. Because I see him kind of doing that, that yoga way of doing a handstand against the wall where their backs are curved. And,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm starting
That's
to
what I see. But I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, That dude's got some hard ass palms. Okay, because he's pushing off his palms in order to make this car happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which means he's got some very flexible freaking forearms too. So at the same time,
I was like, I can't believe, and he did it. I was like, wow, that's some. I mean, and John's our age. John's an older athlete. That's why
John is way older than me.
I was like, John's
John is like 52. All right, I'm 42. So
yeah, I remember when John went up the steps for his birthday. I think what was his 44th birthday, and that video's been up for a long time.
And you know what?
I remember when I was in elementary school and John was an adult working.
He's kind of like Morgan Freeman, like, dude, you've been old long time known you, man. It's like,
if that's what age can bring you, then great, bring it.
Well, John's system. John has such a smart system. The monkey bar system. It's
the monkey bar system is brilliant.
Really mastering your body weight and mobility and movement. All of those things are incorporated so well in his system.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's brilliant. Him and Jess Rucker.
We just need to donate some barbells to his gym so they don't have to do deadlifts.
Stop putting kettlebells on broomsticks, man.
We're
not in a village in Kenya, man. We can do better, man.
It's like, I know what to get John for Christmas.
Exactly.
I'm going to send you
and we're busting his balls because he's a friend of ours. So trust me.
I'm going to send you a technological development known as a barbell. Plates are on your own. You're going to have to go buy those.
I love John. He is totally outside of the box, and I love him. And he's a dear. I mean, I know he's a dear friend of yours too.
Well, he's one of a kind. His training system is one of a kind. There's no one doing what he's doing.
Exactly. It's like I said this the last time, and it's like I'm absolutely, and I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of hate mail for this, but hey, it's great. It's better to get hate mail than no mail. I have no idea why people know who the fuck Glassman is, but they don't know who John Hines is. I'm absolutely
one word: marketing.
Marketing.
Yeah, marketing and honesty.
Because let me tell you, if you said, okay, we're going to have Glassman and Hines together in one room, and then all these people have heard of Glassman, but you put both those guys in a room, people are probably going to pick John Hines to be Glassman.
I was
like, oh, he looks like
John never marketed himself like a jack-off either, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was never this over-the-top marketing copy that went with the monkey bar system. His was always based on producing real results and letting word of mouth take care of the rest. And it's allowed him to build a very successful business. Like, he and I had a conversation about how Lifeline could have been, his father's company, could have been a lot bigger with a stronger marketing campaign, because they never had a strong marketing component. They developed really good products. And I think their inclination was, let's hope that's enough to build a successful company. And to a certain extent it was, but you still need to know how to market yourself. You still need to know how to get your message out there.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, I love John's been like a mentor to me in a lot of ways. Like, I've learned a lot from him. And I just, it's like, I love the guy. And I just think, like I said, if that's what age can bring us, then bring age on.
Well, Steve Maxwell's another example of someone aging really well.
Yep. It's
I mean, we'll give him a pass on the astrology stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't been privy to that stuff. I might have to avoid some of that.
Yeah, you have to check out that episode with Rogan, man. It's kind of like, huh? Even Rogan was kind of like, what? Wait.
What?
Oh, he was stronger than that. He was like, this is fucking bullshit, Steve.
He's like, come on, man, you're an intelligent guy, man. This is bullshit, Steve.
We'll get Steve back in the show. Talk about some of that stuff.
We have to talk about that.
Oh God! So listen, guys, I got to get rolling. I'm running off to rehearsal now.
Cool.
It was awesome getting with you guys again. I look forward to the next time. And dude, if we're in Vegas, you got to come.
Yeah, man, I'd love to see. I mean, I'd love to check you out even somewhere outside of Vegas,
California. And actually, sincere, you're down in Houston, right?
Yep.
We're supposed to be through there possibly with Madball in the next couple months. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I will let you know.
Oh yeah, hit me up.
Sure. Most definitely.
One last thing, man. UFC 200 predictions. Cormier, Jones. Which one you got?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Everyone loves a Cinderella story, but I think Cormier's put in like some real hard work. I kind of think Cormier, because everyone else is going to go with Jones.
Yeah. What about Aldo versus Frankie Edgar?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. That is a real tough one, because I have an affinity for both of them because they're both really hard workers. I've been lucky enough to go, I've been at training at Gracie's when Frankie's been there and watch him train. He's such a nice guy. Wow, that's tough. I kind of think Aldo, but I kind of want
Edgar's the betting favorite right now.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Aldo's the slight underdog. They're both negative, which is kind of weird. One's negative 125, one's negative 105. Why isn't someone positive?
I know. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm looking at that. I was like, why are they both negative?
He's handling this stuff. Cain
Velasquez,
Travis Brown, man.
Travis Brown and who?
Cain Velasquez.
Cain Velasquez.
Wow.
You didn't even realize that was on the card.
Yeah, I didn't.
That card is so stacked that Cain and Travis are kind of being left out of the conversation.
Ooh, I'm going to go. I think Cain Velasquez. I really do.
That's pretty safe bet. What about Lesnar and Hunt?
Yeah.
Hunt.
Yeah.
Okay, there was no hesitation on that one.
Hunt's a
now,
fight.
hold on. What if there's a Cinderella story and then Brock knocks him out?
No, I don't know what it is. I just think Hunt has been in the game, the real game, for so long, and I have a lot of faith in that.
The X factor there is I don't know if Hunt can stuff Lesnar's takedowns.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I don't know if Lesnar's going to be reluctant to take him down because he has to get in close where he may get hit. So it just depends on the mentality.
Or just one to the body. Does Lesnar start having, a little PTSD?
Hunt's going to go for that. Man.
You know it. I mean, I would. Who wouldn't?
Well, the thing also about that is that Hunt's gone distances. Lesnar never really has. So if it goes past,
I love Hunt, man. I have his new book on the way, Born to Fight. I can't wait to read that. He's adopted a vegan diet recently for animal cruelty reasons. Yeah, so he's a really interesting cat.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies, Miesha Tate, Amanda Nunes.
Tate. I like Tate in that one.
I think we can see a good ground game, between the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll make it very interesting. Something we don't really get to see a lot of with the ladies as far as at that level. That's what makes that fight fun to watch right there.
Tate has a stronger posterior chain, so I think that's an X factor that I haven't seen too many people talk about yet.
Posterior chain took over Holly's posterior chain, so that's
she's also got a little more water in the sand as far as fight experience, I think.
Yeah. Right.
So I think that's going to
and going the distance.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
She's a 5 round.
I think there's some potential upsets. That's not going to be one of them, I don't think. But I think there's some potential upset. I think I really want John Jones to win, but I'm kind of leaning with you, Gavin. And one as a guy who likes to bet on this stuff because Cormier is a very high level underdog, and that makes and he shouldn't be as big of an underdog as he is. The betting spread is off, and whenever something is like that makes it compelling to bet on. I think he's a plus 300 or something like that.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous. Wow. I would say plus 100 would make more sense, but plus 300?
They make it sound like he's been out as long as, Cain's been out or something.
Yeah. And if you look at the last fight, that wasn't a plus 300 performance. Man, it was a lot closer than that.
So what I hope for is just like I'm split between do I want to see a good knockout, like by round 3, or do I want to see them just beat the hell out of each other for 5 rounds, just to get it out and get it over with and just move on with their lives. Man.
I would say I would love to see a 5-round battle and John wins decisively. I think that would just be cool. But as someone who's betting, it's hard not to find the spread appealing for betting on Cormier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see like a really highly skilled fight that would go the distance. I love the good back and forthers.
Yeah.
But those are few and far between. So
right.
Yeah. I mean, even the undercard is going to be fun to watch, man. You got Joe Lozon and Diego. I mean,
that's great. Even the cards the night before, you got Alvarez and Rafael dos Anjos. He's fighting. Yeah. That's going to be a great fight. I think Rafael has that one. You got Joanna versus Claudia. That's another
one. I'm
going
for Claudia, man.
Me too. Because the last fight was so close.
Yeah.
There's a couple factors. The last fight was so close. The way Joanna carried herself on the show, I only saw one episode, but that was enough.
It didn't get any better.
And then Claudia is actually a more well-rounded martial artist. Yes. The things that Joanna does, she does way better than Claudia at the striking.
Yeah.
And she has good takedown defense. But Claudia took her down 7 times in that last fight.
And I feel like Claudia is the stronger fighter out of those two as well. So it'll be interesting, but yeah, I'm pulling.
She has greater separation between her quads and hamstrings as well. So I think that's another. we can't discount that. Come on. Wait a minute, we'll keep it going. When's the new Burn album is going to be on Death Wish?
The new Burn album is going to be on Death Wish. We're going into recording November 1st. Awesome label, awesome guys.
And then Kurt, who's produced Nails and so many bands, Trap Them, so many different bands.
He's a frequency master, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting in a room with him and get. He's a sensei of his own kind, man, and I'm really looking forward to learning from him. So that should be just a wonderful experience straight across the board. And that's what I'm really super into, is just really good experiences.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck with all of that, and great having you back on.
As usual, this has been one of them. Thank you guys so much.
All right,
thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Great talking to you.
Yeah, if anybody needs to reach out to me, I'm easy to find. physicalculturecollective.com. That, or you can hit me at GVV Strong and Instagram.
Yep.
Cool,
and
man.
Twitter.
And Twitter.
Yeah.
And there's pictures of you with double D kettlebells on all of those different meetings.
Kettlebells on both of those
in underoos.
Yeah. I will get to underoos and do that.
Captain America underoos, right?
All right, man.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Great talking to you, man. You have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about the UFC because it's a big deal this week. Right now, it's fight week. It's fight week. The expo is going to be here. There's a bunch of parties. Forrest Griffin and Dan Hardy are hosting a party for Fight Pass subscribers at the Red Rock tomorrow. Cool. And there's just a whole host of events. They're trying to make it sound like, oh, because you're a member. I was like, yeah, there's millions of members.
Right.
There's probably thousands of members in town. So it's not going to be 20 people over there.
It's not like you're flying those people all out there. It's like, because you're a member, we're hooking you up.
Well, whenever you get an email with a free invitation, it's because they want to make sure there's people there. The demand is low, not because you're special. It's because, hey, let's get as many people here as possible, and we don't know if anyone's going to show up for these two guys. Yeah. So let's make it free. You're not saying, hey, Conor McGregor is hosting a party at the MGM Grand. That one they're going to charge $100 a head to get in.
Right. Oh man.
Yeah, but this weekend should be interesting. The UFC 200, I'm looking forward to it, especially that main event.
Yeah. I mean, for a while there, it just seemed like this was going to be a very lackluster, event.
Right.
You expect so much because, when you had their pay-per-views we had 198, actually 197, 198, 199, and then the people that had stacked in those cards, I'm like, okay, who the hell are you going to have left for 200?
Right.
A few months ago, we were like, okay, how is this even going to even come close to how UFC 100 was when all your top stars are already fighting? So, it's kind of lucky that Cormier kind of got injured there and they had to postpone that fight because, again, that wasn't supposed to be the main, event of this card. That was supposed to happen,
Otherwise, Lesnar Hunt would have been the main event, and that's not enough for me.
Yeah,
that's more of a tag-on bonus fight.
Yeah, that's something, you would have brought your little WWE fans over for that one event or whatever else, but for people who are already, watching MMA, they'd be like, okay, well, what else you got?
Well, even the placement of that fight on the card is amusing because you have 3 championship fights, and then that fight is sandwiched in between Tate Nunes and Cormier
in the main card.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's almost like and here's an exhibition fight just for you.
So what they're basically saying is, you guys are both champions, Aldo Edgar and Tate Nunes. You guys are champions, but we're going to throw a bigger fight than you two, which is a non-championship fight.
We had a guy that fought for a championship and one guy that was a champion, but honestly, neither one of these guys are in the hunt, for the belt anytime soon.
No.
But they're a bigger draw than you, which kind of sucks to say that.
That fight, basically, Lesnar really doesn't have anything to lose because it's just a one-off for him. Hunt has a lot to lose, though, because if a guy took a 4-year break,
it's almost like a setup sometimes. I think when they get, at the end of that contract where you have a 3-contract fight or something like that, and this person's no longer pretty much in the hunt for the belt anymore, but you're like, but they keep winning. Somebody like a Dan Henderson. It's just like, it's just to the point where it seems like Dan just won't go away. And it seems like even when he started to contemplate going away, it's like, okay, just do this one last fight. And then he wins like in a fashion where you can't even deny him, like, well, damn, like this dude's, is he really
like Rory when they matched up Rory with Wonder Boy for the last fight on his contract? That felt kind of like a setup too, because anyone else Rory wouldn't have had a problem with. But that one I felt was a bad stylistic matchup, as they say, for Rory. I actually placed a small bet on Wonder Boy and won that one. He was a slight underdog, and it was that one also. If Rory won, I don't know if that would have given him a one-track to a rematch with Robbie.
Yeah.
But if he loses, then that hurts his contract negotiations and all that.
Exactly.
So that was kind of one of those lose-lose situations.
Exactly. And that's how I kind of look at this, with Lesnar and Hunt, man. Just kind of like, okay, what do we do with this guy? All right, let's see what happens with this. I see that kind of like with Kane and Travis, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay.
Well, if Kane loses, he's in big trouble.
Oh, yeah.
If Travis loses, no one really expected him to win that, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But Kane, he's the number 1 or number 2 contender right now, former champion. People are expecting him to basically blow through Travis, and I don't know if he'll blow through him, but I think he should win that fight.
Right. And another situation is, Johnny Hendricks and Kevin Gastelum,
Yeah.
It's kind of like, we could stand to lose one of these guys. And it's not going to hurt. You're like, okay, one of you had a taste of gold, so, hey, it's not that bad. You can always have that moment. And, Kevin's always kind of had issues.
Like Dana, we're happy when Robbie beat Johnny Hendricks because Robbie is way more marketable than Johnny is. Yeah. And I like Johnny. I think he's a good fighter, but Robbie's just way more marketable.
Exactly. I mean, I was just thinking about today before we started the show. I was like, okay, what if Misha were to lose to Amanda?
Dana that could happen.
Because honestly, let's just be honest. It seems like Dana's never really been behind Misha. She's a little too outspoken, and she'll talk about the politics and all that. She won't necessarily play the puppet or the game or whatever else. So, but you got to think that Dana's thinking in the back of his mind, like, okay, if she wins this and she goes on and fight, it could be Holly, it could be. It could be Ronda. But the problem is, if she beats either one of them again, well, what the hell do I do? So it's kind of like, sometimes I feel like I think he kind of wishes that Misha would go away.
Well, I don't, even with the amount of time Ronda has been laid off, I don't see Misha beating Ronda necessarily. Just how dominant Ronda was over her the last 2 fights. And Matt Brown said it best. He goes, Misha's a better fighter in terms of being more well-rounded and all that. But the few things that Ronda is good at, she's way better at than Misha, that it's enough to nullify her skill set. And that kind of sums it up really well.
On multiple occasions.
I think, though, it would be they're not going to do this, but they should. It would behoove someone like Ronda to take a lower tier fight.
I thought the exact same thing, man.
Like number 7 or 8 or something like that, just to get your head straight, get your confidence
like what he did with John,
because of how long the layup is. Like with John, that worked in his favor, man. Just work out the kinks, get some reps in, work on your confidence, and then realize maybe. Like I noticed he made a big change in his training after that fight in terms of not doing as much powerlifting. He felt that having the extra size just made him tired faster. Like he didn't have the same spring in his step, and he felt like his conditioning wasn't as good with the additional muscle size.
And he's competing against a guy who deals with that problem. So he's probably looking at a mirror of himself like, oh, you know what? I get it, OSP. I see why you feel the way you do. And you know what? This is not my life. So this sucks.
So he made a point of just stripping all of that off. So when he comes into this fight with Cormier, he's going to be like he was the first time they fought.
Exactly.
So I thought that was interesting. Now imagine if he didn't have a chance to make that assessment, and when he just fought Cormier and then realized that fighting him and losing potentially.
Right. So he's kind of coming in, getting cocky. Now, he's not going to be as big as, Rumble or somebody like that, but he's going to come in feeling like those guys, a lot of times. That's Rumble's that's his Achilles heel right there, man. He'll start getting tired.
The thing with John, too, is when you've developed that level of strength, even if you only hold on to 70% of it, which he definitely will, he's still going to feel a lot stronger than the first time. Because,
okay, you picked
muscular size
you picked Daniel up like a little rag doll the first time they fought.
Yeah.
Now think about it now. He might German suplex him just for the fun of it. You know what? Lesnar's on the bill. Let me do this dedicated to him. Here's a German suplex just for you, Lesnar.
I have an interesting perspective on that fight because I really want to see John win, but at the same time, you're looking at that spread going, Cormier could pull this off, man. He could pull this off.
God, if he pulls it off, man, I think I have to stop watching because he won't ever shut up.
Well, it would be interesting. If I put $100 on Cormier and I win 300, I would be happy about that, but I would be disappointed too because I want to see John win. So that's an interesting situation. Like, or you bet on him and then John wins. You're like, okay, I'm glad John wins. It's like, well, shit, I lost that money now. So it's an interesting situation. But those are the things where you, like, if you're gonna, I'm by no means like some professional sports bettor. I just do this for fun. But a lot of times you have to take any kind of emotional attachment out of the equation. In other words, you don't bet on someone just because you like them. Like, oh, I like that guy, so I'm going to bet on him. Like,
it's like people like, I like their jerseys, that's why I bet on the Raiders. I'm like, yeah, how's that working out for you for the last 20 years?
So you really have to have this unbiased, logical analysis and use that as your basis to make a bet, rather than, well, I don't like that guy, so I don't want to bet on him.
Right.
That's a mistake. Yeah, so that one should be interesting. And then what else was on that card? I think Alvarez versus Dos Anjos. I mean, Alvarez is a great fighter, but I just don't see how he wins that fight. And he's a 3-1 underdog too, and then that one I think is more for good reason, right. Because Dos Anjos is incredible. And if you look at the training he does with Nick Curzon, how fast he is, like how fast he was to hit Anthony Pettis. Like he just hit him out of nowhere. He just took down Cowboy out of nowhere. Like Nick Curzon's system is make these guys so fast and explosive that they're always the first one to do whatever they want to do. They're never reacting to their opponent.
Yeah, and speaking of Pettis, I saw that he dropped down to 145. He's fighting Oliveira in August.
I think you have to do that when you lose 3 in a row.
Well, yeah, he's one of those guys kind of in the setup situation where, the next fight you lose, it's just going to make it very easy to let you go. He's boxing gone. Not,
It's do or die for him at this point.
Yeah.
You can't lose 4 in a row and then just keep throwing you bones.
Yeah, so I think try to avoid everything. It becomes this whole weight class moving game. That's what a lot of fighters end up doing. They go to this weight class, then lose a couple in that one, may win a couple in that one. But just to make sure, even though they may be 2-1 in that next weight class, they go to another one. Just kind of keep trying to confuse the issue a little bit and put it off.
What's interesting, the landscape by this time next week could be dramatically different for the UFC. You could have new champions in 5 different weight classes?
Yeah.
Potentially, right?
Crazy. But stranger things have happened, because there was last year where all the top champions and everybody's golden tickets, they were all gone.
Well, look, man, this is a year where Michael Bisping knocked out Luke Rockhold. All right, no one saw that one. No. I didn't even think it was worth making a bet.
I wanted it to happen, but it was just kind of one of the things like, it'd be cool if he actually finally gets his time. Yeah, because he's running out of time.
It'd be kind of a cool way for him to finish off his career, just to say, "Hey,
that's how I was looking at it." And then I'm done. He did it.
I was like, I'm not going to defend this. I'm done.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, now you can retire. You can stop now. But no, that's not going to happen.
Well, imagine if he goes on and defends it 5 times or something.
What if he pulls a Rocky? He pulls a Rocky on him. You're just like, damn.
And then he retires. He's like, man, that was the greatest middleweight of all time.
And that's definitely what he would say.
Imagine if he beats Luke in the rematch, or he beats Chris Weidman, or he fights Anderson again, beats him. That would be crazy. Beats Jacare. That would be crazy.
He's like, yeah, all you guys talking about Anderson's the greatest. I'm the greatest, and you'll never get the end of it.
Well, I mean, it's as far fetched as it sounds in theory. It's not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable.
Look at the fact that he knocked out Luke Rockhold, who no one thought he could knock out.
Right. And hey, man, like I said, in this sport, stranger things have happened. So,
no doubt.
Cool, man. All right, folks. So before we head out, make sure you head over to both our websites. Head over to newwarriortraining.com. Use that coupon code LLA. Get 10% off everything over there that you can purchase. And what about you, man?
Do it now.
You talking about the host of the Celebrity Apprentice for next season, right?
Just do it. Get over there. Get over to MikeMuller.com. That will be interesting. Use that coupon code LLA. Get 10% off some aggressive strength. Get on the whole. Also, I want to make sure people realize that things get cheaper the more you buy. So if you buy 5 bottles of aggressive strength, it's actually discounted by about 25% automatically, and then you can get 10% on top of that. So don't just buy one, especially as those of you that have actually used the products, they work. Stock up a little bit. Buy a couple bottles of each thing. Use that. Then you're already getting an automatic discount, and then you can use that coupon code on top of that and get an additional 10%. So just be aware of that. And go do it. Don't hear about it. Don't talk about it. Go do it. Don't talk about what you're going to do. Go do it right now.
Exactly. And also head over to patreon.com/LLA podcast. Become a monthly supporter of the show. Yes, a supporter of the show. Big time. By doing that. And again, big shout outs to all those folks who continue to do the Patreon bump, which is basically these are folks who have supported us on Patreon, but they decide like, you know what? Content, man, these guys keep delivering. They're consistent. So I'm going to give a little more. So they ended up increasing their their support each month monetarily on Patreon. So jump on board now. Start off with a $5 monthly, donation or even more. And yeah, man, help us out with that, and we'll keep the show going and growing. Especially, you'll be rewarded in the end as we get ready to move to that subscription service, which is right around the corner. So even bigger things are coming with that. All right. Other than that, keep the reviews coming on iTunes and Stitcher. Keep sharing the episode on the social media of choice. And that's pretty much all I have, man. And we'll see how these predictions turn out come the next time you guys hear us on the show. See if you don't hear from Mike, that means he did pretty well on that on that Cormier fight. And
yeah, I'm still.
He said, you know what, screw this podcast. I got me a nice little place down in Costa Rica, and I'm good now.
Yeah, I won't be placing. It's the thing about John Jones. A good friend of mine made a good point. He goes, I'm not betting against John Jones until somebody beats him. Until then, forget it, man. He said the same thing about Ronda. It's like, I'm not betting on her until somebody beats her. It's like, okay, now you can bet against her.
Right.
So if Cormier actually pulls this off, then it's like, we'll see. It's hard to imagine that happening, though. I just don't see it happening. Right. But I'm not Nostradamus. It's not like I have a crystal ball in the future of what's going to happen. You never know.
Hey, man, you might have to call up our buddy Steve Maxwell and reach out to his astrology coach, man.
That's the real
test right there, Steve. Hit that guy up and tell him, give you the predictions for UFC 200.
Yeah, if this guy knows so much, he should know how the energy in Vegas is going to affect each fighter and which one's going to be more inclined to benefit from that.
Exactly.
Oh, man. All right.
This week, folks.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.